this fight's being brought to you by Boxing by Sid. And you can see everything that has to do with what Sid offers at boxingbysid.com. We're going to have to start to talk about this fight because I'm going to be honest, this might not last very long. If Scotty's in good shape, and he made the weight, so, I expect him to be. And the way that he beat Danny the first time, I think he's going to make a move on this kid early. We'll see. Dan called out Scotty Paul, so we'll see if Dan's ready for a second go around to avenge that loss.
Well, I think the guy in the red trunks is going to win, John.
Yeah, well, you know what, Billy? That's not really going out on much of a limb.
Well, hey, I try to keep my winning percentage. You know how I am.
I can't blame you. You don't get paid on a bet when you lose.
Well, so far, it started off a little better than you thought it would.
Up until that jab. It's funny because he's slick. The kid's always been a slick fighter. He's been that way as an amateur, and he's bringing that style into the pro. I don't mind his footwork. I think he's got great footwork. I'd like to see him keep his hands up a little bit.
He better keep his hands up.
Wow, he is stepping in, though. He's trying to throw. You see, when Scotty gets a rhythm, though, on this kid, then we'll get to see, are we in for the fight that Dan says we're going to get? Or are we in for the fight that Scott was expecting?
Hey, Sid, do you think that a lot of young fighters today are watching some of the so-called superstars of the sport and are picking up some of their bad habits? And here we see young fighters just getting in the ring in the beginnings of their career, and they're doing these things. This is no Floyd Mayweather Jr. in this ring right now.
No, absolutely. What the young fighters got to understand is that these guys that they're watching at the top level, they've been honing their craft for many, many years. So first you got to learn the rules before you can break the rules. These gentlemen here, they really got to stay more focused on the basics of boxing.
It's important, and that was one thing we were talking about in the first fight with Isaac Maish. He seemed to be technically sound. His hands were up for most of the fight, right, John? I mean, in the towards the end, he started getting a little tired, and his hands started coming down a little bit.
Well, absolutely. Isaac showed, in the first couple of rounds that he had a solid foundation going into this fight. You're right. He did get a little sloppy there come the fourth round. His hands were coming down. He was breathing a little bit more out of his mouth, which is a telltale sign a guy's tired. But, he wins on a shutout, so it's a good starting point. And, hopefully he'll watch our on-demand broadcast and, visit www.talkingboxing and, see what things he did right and what things he can improve on.
Scott's starting to cut the ring off pretty well now, and the cuteness of Dan is going to start to wear out, I think. Here's a 10-second warning.
It's a tough first round to score. I got to give Dan credit. He's landed some punches. So is Scott, though. Sid, I got to put you on the spot. Who won that round?
Yeah, I think I hate to say it. I think Dan won that round.
I have to agree. I think Dan won that round as well.
So it's unanimous. All three of us say Dan Slezsak won that round. Here's an interesting note. The girl right now that's in the ring card girl, I'm horrible with names like you, Billy. I know everybody's.
You're not as bad as me, John. Come on.
But that's Isaac Maish's girlfriend by chance, believe it or not.
Well, she was technically sound too.
Absolutely. It's always like, what do you prefer? Chocolate, vanilla, caramel. I like Rocky Road, so figure that one out. But, she's a pretty girl, and, they definitely have a lot of different girls in here. All of these girls are boxers, so, so far 2 for 2 that I've really picked up on. I've seen them both in the ring at different times.
Just started the second round. And now his hands are up, John.
Yeah, I'm sure his corner has probably told him, if you're standing 10 feet from him and you want to take a breather, you can take your hands away from your chin. But other than that, kid, keep them up. A little peekaboo there, too, which is surprising, though, when he let it go, bang, right on the chin. So,
yeah, it's starting to look like a lion playing with his prey a little. This seems to be, in my opinion, it seems to be an experience level that's pretty obvious.
Well, that's the thing. These guys have fought, a while back. But at the same time, Scotty's now got 6 fights, and Dan's 0-2. So, the experience is very evident in the ring right now. But, Dan's still up by a point, and, Scotty owns this round. So, we'll see what happens next.
Well, one advantage that he had by fighting a little heavier than he's used to is that they had to weigh in today.
And that's something where, aside from a world title fight, like somebody you'd catch from Steve Molitor, in Ontario, we got to weigh in the day of the event. And, you made a really good point when we were at the weigh-ins, Billy, that means that these guys that are fighting each other are actually, as it's supposed to be, in and around the same weight. So it really does make for, fair fights. That's the Ontario Athletic Commission. They're very strict. And, with the matchmaking from Jim Gento, you put those two together, and, it's really hard to separate guys. You're not going to get a guy that's, got 10 fights more than another guy, and you're not going to get a guy that outweighs a guy by 10 pounds. So
it's relative, because if the weigh-in's the day before, the fighters are going to be fighting approximately 10 pounds above the weight that they weighed in. If they fight the day of the weigh-in, they're going to be fighting closer to the scheduled fight, the scheduled weight class.
It makes perfect sense.
I wish they would just pick one. Either have the weigh-ins the day of or the day before.
And that's
for
fair.
Everyone, I mean.
No, that's fair. That makes perfect sense. Now, Scotty's definitely starting to show that, he's here, to fight as well. It's funny because Dan's styles changed.
Oh, that left stunned Dan.
Or Scotty. It was Scotty that took that right on the chin. Dan Slezsak, I was just trying to say his styles changed. He stopped dancing. He started banging, and he rocked Scotty Paul. So, right when it looked like Scott Paul was trying to take over and take over this round, the most telling punch of this round comes at a left hook from Dan Slezsak.
Was it enough for him to squeak out that round?
I don't think so. What do you think?
I don't know.
You're too busy looking at your favorite ring card girl.
That's after.
Well, again, these are only 4-round contests to start off this show. So, we're halfway through the fight already. And really, Dan has impressed me. He called out Scotty Paul. He's got something to prove. And he may very well be proving his point. It's either an even fight at this juncture or little Danny Boy's up by 2 points.
I got the fight even right now, John. I on my unofficial scorecard, hey, I'm no Teddy Atlas. Like we were talking, I'm not. Yeah, he went down, but I'm not going to give him a 10-8 round.
He gets the 10-9.
And this is the start of the third round. It looks like Dan is fighting the way he was in the first round. His hands are up, down, around.
I don't know why he would change what worked from in the last minute of the last round. It was the most impressive moment for him in the entire fight. Keep his hands up. He can move laterally. Moving laterally is not a problem. Oh, there's a shot.
There's a shot behind the head. The referee's giving him a warning.
Yeah, Rocky in there is telling him, I'm not gonna deal with that tonight. And Rocky's just a little guy too, but he doesn't play games in there. I'd really like to see more punches. These guys, I know they're both in really good shape. There we go.
He's trying to land the shots, John, but I think he's just not quite in a position.
Well, Scott coming off of, taking this fight with only 2 days notice, coming off an obvious resting situation, having no problem making weight, but look at his physique. This guy's in phenomenal shape, 24/7, 365.
Well, that's what his trainer was telling us. He's always in the gym. So he was ready.
Absolutely. But
he clearly looks smaller.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where this is nowhere near what the first fight was like. Scotty had Dan down and stopped him in the first fight. And I'm with you, Billy. The fight's even right now, and we got a pretty even round going on.
Again, we got to give credit to the matchmaker. One thing I'm enjoying is the referees letting these guys fight inside.
Oh, nice right uppercut. Oh, followed by left hook by
Too often we see referees break them up when they're in this close fighting, an inside fight. That was an uppercut. That was a nice uppercut that Dan Slezsak landed.
Absolutely. And you know what, Scott? He's been landing a couple nice hooks in here, too.
Another one. Yeah, I think he's squeaking out this round.
You can tell it's the first time me and Billy have worked together because we both pause, we both get that energy, and, you know.
I think that Dan Slezak's running out of some energy. At least he's looking like he is.
Yeah, I can't deny that. He's moving backwards a lot right now. Then again, as soon as we say that, he spins Scotty around and puts him on the ropes. Oh, right on the button with the left hook. Again, neither
just
of these
missed.
guys hit hard. So
he just missed with that one, John. There's the 10-second warning. It's a whistle here in Canada.
There's some more of that infighting you like, Billy, and notice neither guy's holding.
One thing I did notice, it was infighting, but nobody was working the body.
Yeah, it's almost like an oxymoron. You know, you're that close, and you know, you're not touching the body at all, and no one's holding. Now, all these ring card girls are local Brantford girls. This young lady, I haven't met. I don't know her. Might be a bit of a surprise to you, Billy. You've seen me talking to, you know, as many of these young ladies as I could when we were over at the hotel. You know, Kara, what are you up to? Priscilla, how's it going? You know, all the girls fighting on the card and that. But that's the only ring card girl of the three that I don't know personally.
John, I have this fight. I have Dan ahead by 1 round in this fight.
You know, that last round was a tough one to score. You know, I'm giving it to Slezsak too. You know what? First and third to Slezsak, second round to Scotty Paul. That's the way that this fight's been going, and that's what I've been seeing. But they have been, the last 2 rounds have been a lot closer.
It's the last round. What?
You know, and Scott's got to understand right now the position that he's in. You know, he's in Dan's backyard. This is a guy he already has a W against. He really does not want to lose this fight right here, right now.
I don't think either one of them want to lose the fight. I think it's a pretty close fight. It's in the judges' hands, that's for sure, up to this point.
Most definitely.
Got to keep those hands up.
There's some nice body work by Scotty Paul. You know, it's been a lost start here so far tonight. You know, I'm hoping to see a little bit more of that when we get closer to our main events for Ontario Boxing Council titles. You know, both guys seem to be just basically, you know, keeping their distance and then colliding and trading at the same time.
You know,
Scott seems to be, you know, doing the better of the two right now, and the body work looks like it's actually starting to pay off this round already. Dan really looks tired in there.
Yeah, Dan definitely looks tired. I think that Scott was cutting off the ring pretty effectively in the beginning of the fight, but he hasn't been able to capitalize on it. He gets Dan into these positions where he could really, you know, separate himself in this fight, and he doesn't seem to do it. I don't want to use the old saying that's become the new saying. You can't pull the trigger, it seems.
I'll tell you one thing, Rocky had no problem separating him, and he pretty much flung Dan off the ropes on that last break about 15 seconds ago. You know, this round has been more of a Scotty Paul round.
You're right.
And it sounds like the hometown crowd is actually going behind the away fighter.
These fighters are fighting like they're in the 15th round.
It's ironically true. You know, Dan's definitely lost any sting that he had earlier. And Scotty, he's starting to back up right now and just cover up. And, you know, I think he still has a bit of an edge in this round, but it's the last round. You know, you want to finish strong. Scotty getting tangled in the ropes there.
Dan's doing what he did throughout the fight. He's coming on strong at the end.
Absolutely, you know, and Sugar Ray Leonard made an entire career, you know, of doing that, round after round.
There's a 10-second warning, John. John, I have this fight a draw.
I'm giving this round to Scotty Paul so far too. And that's it. That's all, folks.
I have 2 rounds to piece.
I got it the same way. The odd rounds for Dan, the even rounds for Paul.
With the official scoring of the second fight of the evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, here are our judges' decision. Judge Billyc has scored the bout 40-37. Judge Alan Davis has scored the bout 39-37.
Wow, no draw.
Judge Kelly Zalderchuk has scored the bout 39-37. Ladies and gentlemen, your winner by unanimous decision, Scotty the Star.
Wow.
It was a good fight, though, John.
You know what? It was a good fight. How often does the hometown guy, 40-37, they gave him a draw in one round at best on one of the scorecards?